As the clock ticked past midnight, Mark dozed off in front of the television, exhaustion weighing heavily on his eyelids. The room filled with the eerie glow of the late-night program, the sound of hushed voices seeping into his dreams. Suddenly, a thunderous bang reverberated through the house, jolting him awake. Confused and disoriented, Mark rubbed his bleary eyes, struggling to grasp the reality that surrounded him. His heart pounded in his chest as the remnants of sleep slipped away, replaced by a growing sense of unease. The sound had been so loud, so distinct. In the unsettling stillness that followed, Mark strained his ears, his senses heightened. Then, echoing through the silence, he heard it, a flurry of hurried footsteps, racing down the stairs, each thud echoing like a chilling omen. Panic gripped his chest as the front door was violently slammed shut, leaving only an ominous echo behind. Fear mingled with curiosity, compelling Mark to investigate the source of the disturbance. He rose from the worn-out chair, his steps hesitant, and cautiously moved towards the staircase, his senses alert for any sign of danger. With each step, the darkness seemed to deepen, amplifying his trepidation. With a trembling hand, Mark ascended the staircase, each step a daunting progression towards the unknown. His voice quivered as he called out for his wife, hoping against hope that this nightmare was nothing more than a figment of his imagination. Silence swallowed his pleas, intensifying his growing dread. As Mark reached the top of the stairs, a flickering light pierced through the darkness, casting eerie shadows along the hallway. His eyes fixated on the open bedroom door, its presence an unsettling invitation. Fear gripped him like icy tendrils, but he knew he had to confront whatever lay beyond. With faltering steps, Mark approached the room, his heart pounding against his ribs like a desperate plea for reprieve. The sight that awaited him within would forever sear itself into his soul, a tableau of abhorrent tragedy that shattered his world. The room was awash in an unnatural glow, emanating from the lamp perched on the nightstand. Time seemed to slow as Mark's gaze fell upon his wife's lifeless body, sprawled across the bed. A chilling stillness pervaded the room, interrupted only by the soft hum of the flickering light. Shock and anguish consumed Mark as he beheld the devastating truth: the gunshot wound to his wife's chest, the blood staining the sheets, the vacant gaze frozen forever in terror. His mind recoiled, unable to comprehend the brutality of the scene before him. The room itself seemed to hold a malevolent presence, as if the very walls whispered of the unspeakable violence that had transpired. Mark stumbled backward, a guttural cry escaping his lips, the weight of grief and horror bearing down upon him. In that moment, his world fractured irreparably, forever etched with the macabre image of his beloved lying lifeless. The questions flooded his mind, demanding answers that eluded him. Who could have committed such a heinous act? Why had his home become a canvas for unspeakable cruelty? Mark's anguish mingled with a burning desire for justice, propelling him into a dark journey where truth would be sought and horrors unveiled. Mark's heart raced with determination as he recalled the haunting sound of the front door slamming shut. Fueled by a potent blend of grief and anger, he sprinted down the stairs, his steps echoing with purpose. Each stride propelled him closer to the chilling truth that lay in wait. Emerging into the night, the frigid air slapped against Mark's face, heightening his senses. And there, amidst the darkness, he caught a glimmer of hope, a flicker of his car's headlights casting an eerie glow. His breath caught in his throat as his eyes locked onto the figure sitting behind the wheel. Time seemed to stand still as Mark approached, the pounding of his heart drowning out the world around him. The car's engine hummed with a sinister energy, its presence adding to the pervading sense of unease. He knew he had to confront the figure, to unmask the elusive specter that had wreaked havoc upon his life. With every step, the shadows seemed to dance and contort, whispering secrets that eluded Mark's grasp. His palms grew clammy, but resolve burned within him, shielding him from the encroaching fear. He moved closer, determined to confront the malevolence that had shattered his world. As he neared the car, the figure became clearer, a silhouette cloaked in darkness, hiding their identity from the probing eyes of justice. Mark's voice, laced with a mix of desperation and defiance, cut through the stillness of the night.
Who are you? done?
He demanded, his voice trembling yet resolute. The figure remained shrouded, their face obscured by the veil of night. A chilling silence hung in the air, as if the truth itself held its breath. Mark's heart thudded in his chest, the gravity of the moment weighing upon him. Then, with a slow, deliberate motion, the person in the driver's seat lifted up their hand. In the dim light, Mark's eyes widened as he recognized the silhouette of a handgun. Time seemed to freeze as the figure pressed the cold metal against their temple. Mark had to confront the shadowy figure before any irreversible action took place. Adrenaline surged through his veins, propelling Mark forward with a fierce determination. Every step resonated with his resolve, echoing through the night. Fear mingled with a sense of urgency as he closed the gap between himself and the car, his mind focused on uncovering the truth. The streetlights cast an ethereal glow on the figure, its presence cocooned within a shroud of darkness. Mark's voice quivered with a mix of fear and unwavering determination.
What do you want?
He demanded, his voice cutting through the tense air. The figure's body tensed, but they made no move to respond. Shadows danced upon their face, obscuring their features, yet Mark sensed their turmoil, their anguish. In this moment, a strange sense of empathy spilled over Mark and intertwined with his resolve, driving him to confront the depths of the figure's despair. Leaning closer, Mark locked eyes with the enigmatic figure. Mark wasn't sure why he was beginning to feel pity for the person. Time seemed to stretch, the night held its breath as Mark's words hung in the air. The weight of the moment pressed upon him, the silence awash with possibilities. His heart ached with the burden of his own grief, yet he recognized a flicker of shared pain in the figure's eyes. Suddenly, the figure's hand trembled, their grip on the gun faltering. Mark's breath caught in his throat, his pulse racing as he saw a glimmer of vulnerability within the shadowy abyss. But then, as if time had been suspended, the figure slowly turned their face towards the dim glow of a nearby streetlight. Mark's steps faltered, his heart lurching in his chest as he saw the familiar contours of that face. It was his own reflection, staring back at him with hollow eyes. Shock coursed through Mark's veins, freezing him in place. His mind raced, trying to comprehend the impossible. Within seconds that felt like hours, realization crashed upon him like a tidal wave. The figure in the car was him. A scream tore from Mark's throat, a guttural cry that reverberated through the night. His voice carried a mix of horror, confusion, and a dawning recognition of the twisted fate that had brought him face to face with his own darkness. As the echo of his scream faded into the ether, Mark's body began to fade as well. Reality unraveled before his eyes, fragments of existence slipping through his ethereal form. Panic surged within him, but it was too late to escape the inevitable. In the midst of his fading existence, a gunshot shattered the air. The sound reverberated through the night, blending with the echoes of Mark's vanishing essence. The world blurred, merging into an indistinguishable blend of light and shadow. The room was steeped in an oppressive darkness, the flickering light from the television casting eerie shadows across the walls. Mark stirred from his sleep, a sense of unease gnawing at the edges of his consciousness. Unbeknownst to him, he had unwittingly thrust himself into an eternal, nightmarish purgatory. A sudden, thunderous bang reverberated through the house, jolting Mark from his slumber. His eyes darted around the room, searching for the source of the disturbance, his mind clouded with confusion. Seconds later, the haunting sound of footsteps echoed through the darkness, growing louder and closer. Mark's heart began to flutter in his chest, a mixture of dread and anticipation flooding his veins. He could not comprehend the gravity of the path he had set upon, the endless loop of suffering he was now trapped within. In the dimly lit hallway, the figure descended the stairs, their steps carrying the weight of inevitability. Mark, lost in his own mire of guilt and despair, remained oblivious to the truth that lay in wait for him. As the figure reached the bottom of the stairs, a chilling presence filled the air. Mark's breath caught in his throat, his senses heightened with a foreboding anticipation. Yet, he could not fathom the twisted cycle he had woven for himself, the eternal torment that lay just beyond his grasp. With each passing moment, Mark unknowingly played his role, a pawn in the nightmarish symphony of his own creation. The room filled with a heavy silence, pregnant with the weight of a fate he could not comprehend. The truth lurked in the shadows, obscured from his awareness. And then, as if trapped in a cruel dance of fate, Mark's consciousness was plunged into the depths of his own darkness. The room became a canvas for his nightmares, an endless loop of regret, guilt, and agony. He relived the horrors he had wrought, forever blind to the cycle that bound him in its clutches. In this realm of perpetual anguish, Mark's psyche descended further into the abyss, each repetition of the nightmarish sequence intensifying his suffering. Forever trapped in his own purgatory, he would forever seek redemption, forever confront the consequences of his actions, unaware of the eternal time loop that held him in its thrall. The echoes of his wife's final breath and his own self-inflicted demise reverberated through the void, a haunting reminder of the choices that led him here. Mark, lost in the labyrinth of his own making, would forever wander the corridors of his shattered mind, his existence an endless tapestry of remorse and torment. A prisoner of his own guilt, forever condemned to retrace the steps that led him to this twisted realm of suffering.